I want to be a main eventer, and I know one day I will main event a pay-per-view. Might not be WrestleMania, but it'll be a pay-per-view.
Charlotte, lovely to see you. Thanks so much for joining us here today. And congratulations on your match last night. It was one of the many highlights of an incredible show. I feel like when I watch you go to the ring, you've got this kind of steely determination and this sort of... It feels like you put pressure on yourself to be the absolute best you can be. And off the back of Vince McMahon's comments about wanting the roster to grab the brass rings on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast a couple of weeks ago, does that kind of resonate with you? Have you got that kind of the feeling of wanting to go down there and be the absolute best?
I mean, obviously, Vince's comment was a couple days ago, or a week ago.
Yeah.
But no, not only me, but all the divas down at NXT. I mean, we want it so bad. I mean, we want to be considered just as good as the boys. And every time I walk to that ring, I don't want to say I have a chip on my shoulder, but I feel as if I want to prove that I belong, whether I'm a Flair or not. And I just want to be respected in this business, and a generation kid. I feel like I have to bring, so much more to the table, and I want to, and I plan on doing that every single time.
And you mentioned briefly off camera that Triple H had been quite a big part of, the women performers in NXT and really giving them a lot of time in the ring. Has he been very supportive?
Oh, Triple H, I mean, absolutely. Well, Natalya and I were the semi-main, Bayley and I were the semi-main, and Sasha and I were the semi-main, and that's basically a main event spot. And the time and the storylines down here, you can't help but say that Triple H 100% backs us up, believes in us, and, gives us those opportunities because he believes in it. So yeah, I would say he's our biggest advocate. Absolutely.
And he seemed, I saw the pictures, he seemed quite emotional when you made your Raw debut.
Oh yeah, you're gonna make me emotional. Yeah. I said this in my package versus Natalya, but just being down in NXT has given me so much confidence as a person and a performer, and doing something that you had so much, you weren't sure that you could do, and to 2 years later turn in, to someone that continuously progresses. I think him seeing me as a student and knowing me since I was younger, I think it was an emotional moment for him too, just seeing the change and also being, as close to my father. And I lost my brother almost 2 years ago on May 29th, and he knows that how much he's my inspiration to everything I do. And so it was just knowing, it was a lot to it.
Yeah.
So
it's a really amazing story. And so let's go back to the start. And, obviously your dad, I hear he's quite famous in this field. Was there a lot of pressure from him and the family for you to come into the business? Or because I understand you were a volleyball player, a state champion, and a personal trainer, is that right as well? So, how did you take that leap and come into WWE?
Well, first, my dad never has ever brought up, me being in the wrestling business. Never. When I was a kid, he was always, my coach in terms of every sport, he put me in. My two brothers obviously were, the ones he was pushing in wrestling. And then when the Four Horsemen were inducted in Miami, I had graduated college. I played volleyball in college. And my little brother had been trying to break in the business. And John Laurinaitis and myself and my dad were at dinner. And he's like, why don't you give it a go? And I was just kind of like, And I was like, I wanted to be with my little brother at the time. And I know he'd been, wanting to break into the business, and I was like, well, maybe if I go, we could do it together. So, that's really how it started.
Okay.
So, that's really how simple the story is.
Okay. And so, were you a fan growing up, or did you Was there any part of you that sort of resented it slightly? Because I guess your dad was away a lot.
Oh, I never resented it. My passion for it now, obviously, is not what I had as a kid. I mean, I was definitely, my dad was my hero. I mean, he was gone a lot, but being gone a lot, he, not saying he's not a father figure, but he is also my best friend. And I also grew up watching him mostly when I was younger. His career was in WCW. So the transition to WWE, when I got to high school, that's how I got to know, then WWF's product. But no, I mean, I was definitely a fan, and I was definitely grew up when it was like Tori Wilson, Stacy Keibler, Sable, Victoria, Lita, Trish, like that's who I saw, then the Nitro Girls. But I did not look at wrestling how I look at it now, no. Right. But I mean, I was my dad's biggest fan, so, and I love Sting, so.
Sting versus Flair back in the day.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I was a little girl, but.
Yeah. So did you go to a lot of the shows as a kid?
I did.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Any particular highlights, favourite matches of your father's?
When we went to Chicago, when I met Muhammad Ali, I remember that. I was like 7. Obviously, I remember Starrcade 93. It was in Charlotte. I was really little, but I remember the camera crew at my house growing up, and then I remember my dad's parents came, and that was like the first show they'd ever come to at my dad's. I don't quote me on that, but I think that was one of the first. And I remember my dad's parents being there. I also, obviously, WrestleMania against Shawn Michaels. And then my dad, actually, when I signed to Appalachian State, I was a junior, so he's like, all right, recruiting's over with. I'm going to take you on tour with me. So when he was with WWE, I went on the UK tour in 2004. Took me to Australia with him on that tour. And anywhere he could take the family, especially growing up when we were younger, when he was with WCW, we went on tour with him all the time in the summer. Like I remember Bash at the Beach all the time, coming to Disney when they taped. I think it was at Disney when they did.
Yeah, the MGM Grand or something in the sound stage.
Yeah, they taped there. I remember going there a lot as a kid. But yeah.
So you've probably grown up in the industry and seen the world as well.
I have.
It's amazing.
Sir. It is. It's been cool.
And it feels like it kind of means everything to your dad. I obviously don't know him personally, but he seems like a very emotional guy. I saw the interview when you won your the title for the first time. What an emotional night for you and him. Do you have that sort of same emotion when it comes to the industry?
Well, I'm emotional just like my dad anyways, but yeah, I mean, and then being a part of NXT really, my dad lived, breathed professional wrestling, and I never understood how he could just continue to go and go and go. And then I'd say my dad had a hard time when he retired, and I never understood that. Like, you're retired, you've worked your whole life. Why, do you still want to wrestle? And today, now I understand. All he ever wanted to do was entertain the fans, and when you absolutely love what you do, and being a part of this, I guess for me, NXT WWE family, I get it now. I mean, you're with them more than, your own family sometimes. But no, I get it, and I get just as emotional thinking about it like he did, just because it does mean so much to you when you love what you do that much. So. And
what were your memories of WrestleMania 24 with him and Shawn Michaels? Because I believe the whole family were on the front row.
Yeah.
What a big day that must have been for the Flairs.
Yeah, well, it started out, me, my little brother, my sister, and my big brother accepted his, when they send out the Hall of Fame, inductees onto the stage at WrestleMania, and you stand on the stars. I think my dad was the first inductee to still be active. So we were on stage that night to take his spot because he was wrestling. So I was like shaking. I was like, I don't know how you do this. Like, and I wasn't even doing anything. I was just standing there.
And that's a big crowd as well.
I know, but I was like, what? He's wrestling. I was like trembling, and I just had to stand there and smile. No, I remember that, and then you could just see the emotion on my dad the whole time when he walked out and he lifted his arms like that in that robe. I mean, if there's I guess a definition for wrestling, my dad his name needs to be in there because that's how much this business means to him. And you could see it, when before Shawn super kicked him for the finish, my dad you could just see the emotion, and he knew that he'd given everything he had, and it was emotional for my family because of all, being gone. And I just remember him kissing all of us and walking out. Yeah.
It was one of the best matches ever, just I think purely because of all the emotion behind it.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And speaking of you being in front of crowds at WrestleMania, you've actually sort of made your WrestleMania debut. Were you part of Triple H's entrance?
I was, and I wasn't as nervous, but I guess it's because I've been in the business. Yeah, I was. I was standing on the side, it was me, Alexa Bliss, and Sasha Banks.
Okay.
And it was surreal. And actually, Triple H sent the three of us framed pictures, signing it to us with the entrance, with the smoke and
amazing.
Hearing that music, excuse my language, but we felt like badasses.
We've heard worse language than that.
Okay.
That's fine. That was pretty tame. And so talking about WrestleMania, that's the ultimate platform to perform on. Dream match for you, looking ahead to the future at a WrestleMania, who would you want to share that dance floor with? Can't believe you're sighing at that question.
Because I don't know. Honestly, if I could go back, I'd say I'd want to run with Trish Stratus.
Yeah.
But today, anyone that's come from NXT, from Paige and Emma that are already up there, to Sasha Banks, to Bayley, to Alexa Bliss, to Becky Lynch. Because I want that grand stage represent NXT and where we've come from, and so, or I would say Natalya as well.
Yeah.
So.
And so you made your debut on Raw. It was this past Monday, wasn't it, against Natalya? So looking forward and your move to the main roster, do you want to kind of bring change with you? Because I think it's fair to say that the Divas division has been, I don't know if overlooked is the word, but they're not given a lot of time on pay-per-view. Are you hoping to come in with all your sisters from NXT and change that?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I want to do. I want to revolutionize women's wrestling, and I think the last takeover pay-per-views that we've only given a taste. That's only a little bit of what the girls can do down here. The world has, that was all we could do in the time we had given, but that was only a taste of what this new division has to bring to the table. And I don't know how long it will take, but we won't stop until, we prove to the world that we're, I guess you could say NXT means business. That sounds cliche, but no, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to be taken as, I know we're not men, but I want to be a main eventer, and I know one day I will main event a pay-per-view. Might not be WrestleMania, but it'll be a pay-per-view.
See, it's that steely determination. I told
absolutely.
you.
Yep.
And just going back to your dad very quickly, what's the best piece of advice he's given you? And also, what's the worst piece? Because I'm sure dads can be embarrassing too, so you're like, no, Dad, I'm not going to do that. But what's the best and worst advice he's given you? No,
my dad's pretty tough. Well, when I first started this, he was like, you're not going to go in there and, half-ass it. You're going to go in there and this is what you want. You have to want it. My dad always, he says, eat, sleep, and train, and only do something if you want to be the best. If you don't, then don't. You put your whole heart into it. And his biggest thing is for me, believing in myself and don't care what anyone else says. Those are things that we talk about on a daily basis. His worst advice, I mean, sometimes he could just be like, just go in there and be like, you know it all. But I mean, that's just my dad wanting me to be uber confident.
Yeah.
You know, but I can't say there's really any bad advice.
You need confidence in this business, you know.
Yeah, I know you do, and that's
do.
what he says. Like he said, like you'll get eaten alive in this business if you, for 1 second, show them that you're not sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, and can't wait to see you main event Pay-Per-View.
You as well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
That's fabulous.
Good.
Oh,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It was great.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.